I will set the zeitgeist straight.
The movie has too much of the cast in it.
Man, I'm saddled with Jeff Goldblum, the world's most uncharismatic actor.
But it has no poetry.
That's not what this is about.
The problem was when the hero started facing adversity.
Get off your soapbox, Laura Dern.
I want to square off on this guy at a dinner party.
The music was thick.
So far, you have not dazzled me. I'm just letting you know. Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Mark, good chat on bad takes of great movies. I'm Dave Columbo.
I'm Mick Andrews.
And we have a fabulous special guest with us today, Harrison Tweed, everybody.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing?
Doing great. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Hilarious
I'm excited to get this
comedian.
started.
Thank you for joining us on our special spooktacular Halloween episode of Off the Mark.
What are you guys going to be for Halloween? Do you guys have plans?
Oh, do we? I mean, we're both old. What do we?
I don't really like going out.
You know what it is?
Anyway.
It's always when you get to my age, because I just turned 40. It's the things. Oh, if I were 5 years younger, here's what I would do.
Right.
Probably Bob from Bob's Burgers, because it's really easy. You know, you just
That's
shave
fun.
everything except the mustache and put on a white shirt.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Meg?
That's pretty fun.
I've got a stock costume, which is just a bathrobe and a long wig. And I alternate years as either the dude from The Big Lebowski or Fat Thor from Marvel.
Nice.
And
That's fun.
What about you?
So it works every year. What about you, Harrison?
That's funny. Last year, me and my girlfriend, we were the dude and Maud. She did it.
Nice.
The dude is such a good. The dude is a really fun one because it's a very comfortable costume because it's like
Yeah, it's
depending on the
pajamas.
style. Like I like the robe, sunglasses, and just drink a White Russian. And then my girlfriend, she made like an elaborate mod costume where she like made a wig, like designed a wig, and like she made like a skin tone like bodysuit, because you know that scene where she's naked and then she puts the big robe on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she but also I'm not sure. A lot of times I'm risky business because it's also very easy to do. Just like just like putting on a button up and like really short shorts that are like kind of like underwear.
I'm noticing a trend. All three of us are like, here's what you can do that won't take any effort whatsoever. It'll be
Right.
Low
great.
impact and comfortable.
Yeah.
Risky business, though, is an interesting one given the season, because ordinarily I'd
freezing.
be like, "Oh, yeah, it's freezing.
Yeah.
You got to want it."
But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
isn't it one? That's one of those where you kind of need to also like do the action, because everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
You
Like,
have to slide in every
what
room.
are you,
Sliding
pedophile?
everywhere.
Are you pedophile guy? Like, no. You gotta watch it.
Oh, you also need like a trophy or something. I forget because he's using something as a mic.
Right. I
yeah.
saw the best Halloween costume I ever heard about. It's so good that I didn't even see it, but my friend told me about it, and I was like, "This is phenomenal."
Mhm.
It was a tie that was all like kind of askew and out, like on a wire, and he was walking around just drinking at the party, and everyone's like, "What are you supposed to be?" And he goes, "Oh, hold on one second," and he attached like a little mini airplane behind him, and he was North by Northwest.
Oh my
But
god.
like,
Oh, that's
he
cool.
needed to be like, "Oh, yeah, one second."
Some assembly required.
Yeah, got it.
That's wild.
I always thought that
That's
was cool.
a good one.
But
That's
yeah,
very cool.
we wanted to do an episode today for a fabulous Halloween movie, The Thing, Jonathan Carpenter's The Thing, not to be confused with its sequel, 10 Things I Hate About You. That's the dumbest joke I've ever thought of.
Right.
Because when I was trying to do research for it, everything I Googled was like, did you mean, something
Right.
You're
borrowed?
probably thinking of
Yeah.
10 things I hate.
And the number of things were like, don't you mean the 2011 reboot? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not.
What
I
about
don't.
the 2002 video game?
Was there
Which,
a
by the way,
2002
not
video
for
game?
nothing, John Carpenter said was canon.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I am ready for the entire episode for you to just be kind of like piping in with like,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm a nerd out about
and by
that,
the
don't you
way,
worry.
the video game confirms that this person was the thing. Isn't
Right.
that also true with the Ghostbusters game?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
like
And
it was
they all
supposed
did
to
the
be
original
Ghostbusters
voices
3.
for
Yeah.
it, too.
Hearing how little Bill Murray gave a fuck at doing the
God.
voice acting. If you thought his acting was low key in Ghostbusters, wait till you know.
I can't I couldn't believe they locked him into it because
Yeah.
like he's famously hard to reach, right? Like
Yeah.
how you could get him, and like he only does projects that are like super interesting to him.
Right.
The fact that you're like, hey, we're gonna we're gonna make a Ghostbusters video game, and you're gonna you're gonna do some voice acting for it.
Was this a Nintendo 64, Super
Oh,
Nintendo?
like
Where was it?
PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3
Yeah,
era?
Xbox 360. I
Oh,
think,
Yeah.
that kind of
it was
era.
like way later. Okay,
Yeah, and it
cool.
would like
I
it
didn't-
used a lot of the jokes that I think they wanted for the original Ghostbusters 3, and it's like,
Mhm.
you know, you are nameless protagonist who joins the Ghostbusters, and all of them are just riffing around you, and it was great and like actually more true to like the tone than even Ghostbusters 2 was. It was really good.
Interesting. I don't remember that game, but that is interesting that Bill Murray. So this was like the early 2000s.
Yeah. So the thing, let's do a little recap of kind of the movie. It was released June 25th, 1982 on a budget of $15 million. It is so cute when you look at numbers pre-inflation and you talk about like what you were able to do with a movie. So like this
Yeah.
cost $9 to make.
I think
That's
John
wild.
Carpenter said it was like 100 times more money than he's ever been given for any movie
Yeah.
before that. Like,
Right, because
he made-
Halloween was like barely anything.
it was
right?
made it on, like,
$75,000 or something. It was
yeah,
like crazy.
300,000 or something like that. It was like a shoestring
wild.
budget. Yeah.
That's wild.
The movie made $19,600,000 domestically, and are you ready for this? Internationally, it made an extra $4,800. I don't think anybody in Antarctica wanted to go see the thing. Like they walk into the theater and they're like, I think I get it, and then they just leave. You know.
Or they're watching it in Norway and they hear the guy at the beginning explain the whole movie in Norwegian and go, "What's the point?"
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John Carpenter. That's hilarious.
That's really funny.
It was a part of it. It was the 8th at the weekend box office. It was a literal gold. The same day Blade Runner came out, and it was behind at the weekend box office. Here are the movies that were in the theater at the time: E.T., Blade Runner, Rocky III, Star Trek II, Annie, and Poltergeist were all in the theater
Jesus.
at the same time.
Oh, it's a tough field.
Oh
And
my
I
goodness.
can just see like a dad kind of not knowing what to take his family to see. Like even then, if you think it's
Right.
hard now with Netflix picking something to watch with your boo, you know, I still think
Yeah.
It
Oh.
basically is Netflix though. Like that's
right.
that's all like the top choices for you that I would have is just that one day in
Yeah.
1982.
That's so crazy. You know what's funny about John Carpenter? It's so funny because we're about to talk about a movie that's fantastic by a filmmaker that's like one of the best ever. But he I've seen an interview where he has bad takes on Spielberg.
Really?
Where he's just like, I like Jaws. I thought fucking Close Encounters sucked. It's like, I thought E.T. kind of sucked. Like, it's just like, what are you talking about?
Oh man, we
But
should
I'm
look
like-
into John Carpenter reviews for this show.
Right.
That's
But then I
amazing.
mean, if you go through it, like I remember I was listening to David Bowie or like an interview with David Bowie, and he was talking about like
You need to tell Mick who David Bowie is. I don't think he knows.
he was I mean, you know what Brooklyn's like? Okay, imagine the guy that basically started it. So David Bowie was just talking about the Beatles and loving the Beatles, and he was talking, and then he started like shitting on Paul McCartney as a solo artist or like with Wings, and I was just like, yeah, sometimes people you love just have takes you hate too. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I
Nobody's
love David
perfect.
Bowie. I usually like everything he says, but I was like, no, Jet's good. Jet's
Yeah.
really good. You're wrong.
I want an app that lets you stop before your heroes break your heart. Like it literally cuts the part out of the interview where you're like, oh, this person, that's a great take. That's a great take. Oh, I could listen to them all day. Oh no. Like
right. I actually have seen stuff from Spielberg who, I mean, like him talking about himself and his work, and it's like it's almost like sad where he doesn't realize what a genius he is.
Mhm.
I'm sure he does to a certain extent, but he's like, I don't know, like people like Scorsese and you know, Francis Ford Coppola, they have like a distinct aesthetic to their films. I just don't think he's like, I just think I'm like copying people. He's like, I feel like I'm just ripping off people. I don't have my own thing. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Wow.
They're ripping you off, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Spielberg, you have no style. You have no style whatsoever.
Close Encounters is I can't imagine a movie that feels more like watching, that's not about a stand-up comedian than feels like it's about a stand-up comedian. Like this guy just like obsessively destroying everything in his life. It's like, no, but I need this, and be like, you're fucking crazy, dude.
You're
Get
insane.
the fuck. You need to take care of your children.
At the end of the movie, the spaceship lowers and you just see the silhouette of a mic stand backlit, you know, like clearly like he's going to do stand up in the stars.
Yeah.
Well, let's hop in here. Let's briefly kind of talk about what this movie means to us. Rob Bottin, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, was 22 when he made the effects for The Thing. He was 22. You think about what you were doing at 22.
Right.
And now,
so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah,
and it's childish effects, like not childish, like they're breathtaking, but like it's like, well, we're gonna just melt some bubble gum for this one. And it's like, yeah, that is like a child.
I guess it is. Yeah,
it's just everything's a cool childish accident.
Let's talk a little bit about why we love this movie so much, or why we think it is in the lexicon. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying the practical effects are ungodly good, and we really didn't know how good we had it at the time. You'll hear in some of these reviews, like, then we're like, well, the effects. Like, guys, it gets worse. Hollywood very, very soon will just decide to put no effort into the effects. I think my favorite part of The Thing, besides the effects, is the fact that the characters, we slowly figure out as much as we need to about their individual characters over time. It's not like there's a scene at the beginning where it's like, I'm the drunk. Well, I'm the asshole. Well, I'm the military guy. Like that it's literally just people shooting the shit, hanging out.
They actually shot that scene and then cut it. Seriously. Right. No, they truly
really?
like had like a sequence where they all kind of, not really like direct to camera, but like they kind of introduced each person, and Carpenter was like, no.
I love that because it allows it to organically happen over time. And to me, there's the perfect marriage of, you know, just enough about each of the characters, what they do, what their job is, and how they feel about things, without spending like a ridiculous amount of time digging into that when they're going to die in 5 minutes. Like I love it.
I also think probably, I don't know if it's intentional or not, like that idea where you don't know much about each character, it also makes it impossible to figure out who's acting different when they are the thing. So everyone is being more or less stoic, or, you know, just like, no, there's not that much besides Kurt Russell's character and the guy that survives at the end with Childs. Yeah, they're both gonna die, obviously, but like but I think that probably adds to that kind of suspense, because it also kind of, it's weird because like in a lot of movies when it's about like a tragic circumstance, you're like building up empathy for the characters and you're trying to attach to the characters, and that's like, but I think it's like almost a deliberate effort to not have much of an emotional connection to any of them, other than I guess Kurt Russell, because he's the hottest. But I mean, that's everyone's supposed to be like, look at those eyes, I want to watch them longer.
Look, the first time I ever saw Robert Redford in All the President's Men, I was like, oh, that's the guy that if he said, hey, have you ever questioned your sexuality, I would 100% like I would go with him wherever he led me. And then you see Kurt Russell in The Thing and you're like, wait, maybe I don't have a type. Maybe
maybe more of a bad boy guy.
Oh man, yeah.
His hair in that movie is unbelievable.
It's amazing.
Incredible. It's incredible. He looks fantastic. But I think, to your point about how you don't know enough about these these people to know if they're acting differently. I think another big part of that really, or the lack of information that serves the movie is the isolation that you get from that fact. They don't all know each other, seemingly.
Right.
Like it feels like these guys kind of got together instead of being like a family unit who have been hunkered down for months. And, there's this level of like this bond that lets them like overcome their lack of trust.
Mhm.
They don't trust each other at all. It's like 8 guys living alone together,
Mhm.
Or they
Mhm.
know just enough about it, like they spent just enough time with each other, and not to get like too like men do this and women do this, but like there is like a male camaraderie that develops where it's like we can riff, we can joke about each other, we can tell each other we're full of shit, and you get that vibe where it's like they know each other just enough, but
Yeah.
Right.
but
But
not
never-
like besties.
Yeah, but never in a way that it compromises their distrust of each other.
Right.
The only I was rewatching it this week. The only time I really saw that is Gary, the kind of sheriff character, at one point says, "I've known him for 10 years."
Mm-hmm.
And McCready says like he just shakes his head, and Gary kind of goes like, I guess you're right. Like
yeah.
could be him. Like that's really the only time where a prior relationship impacts someone's judgment in the movie.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting that like it allows you to kind of feel in the room with them too, because you don't have these relationships with them either.
Right.
Mhm.
No, love it. I mean, yeah. Anything else anybody wants to say about it before we jump in?
No, let's jump in. I
Yeah,
can't
let's
wait to
read
hear
these
this
reviews,
bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
here's the thing: is that this was famously panned, but it was actually hard to find kind of nuanced or interesting commentary that kind of didn't boil down to like it's just a bloodbath, kind of thing. So this
Right.
first one that I want to read, this is a very quick little blurb from Christian Nyby, who was the director of the original Thing from Another World in 1951, who publicly denounced Carpenter's movie. And I haven't seen the original. Has anybody seen the original?
I haven't.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I remember seeing its clips where it's like a swashbuckler, right? Like it's like a kind of like grab your dame and save the world.
I
kind
think
of
so, but I
movie.
think everything was at that time. It was kind
Yeah.
of like, literally let's
dame.
put a guy in white, pale face paint and have him go like it's literally a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And it looked like I watched like a trailer and I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like I know exactly what every beat of that movie is.
Yeah.
He said, and apparently this really disappointed Carpenter more than all of the other negative reviews. Quote, if you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse. All in all, it's a terrific commercial for J&B Scotch.
Okay.
If you want blood.
That last line, I did watching the movie go like, I could go for a J&B.
I did too. I was like, I'm not a Scotch guy, but like, well, I mean, it's also Kurt Russell. I'm like, what are you drinking?
Yeah.
I'll
That's
have what
the
he's having.
But I mean, first of all, I can't.
Go to the slaughterhouse. Jeez.
As a director from the 50s, I just imagine him saying that in a mid-Atlantic accent, chopping a cigar, like, if you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse, boy. I tell you what this is.
Was it uniquely bloody for the time, or was there I feel like there were films that were excessive.
He had already made Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Like, he had
Right.
made slasher flicks existed.
I mean,
But isn't Halloween bloodless? Or am I
Halloween has like
that-
little stuff here and there, like little moments and definitely.
Okay, can
not a lot.
I make a little add in about Halloween?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, obviously. I have one criticism with it. Why does Jamie Lee Curtis's character multiple times fight him, Michael Myers, knock him out, and then immediately take a nap next to him. She does it like 2 or 3 times. Like, why are you napping next? At one point, I swear to God, she's napping on him. She like is like putting her head on his body. Like, God damn, that was tough. It's like, please leave. You need to leave. Why are you napping? Why are you even napping at all?
I think it might just be like video game rules. Like when you get hurt, you take a nap and you regain health, and you're ready for the next boss fight.
I've been playing too much Fallout. You cannot nap. You cannot sleep while enemies are nearby. All right, so this is from the San Francisco Examiner. Director John Carpenter has tried very hard to recreate some of the horror of the 1951 original. But this is 1982. Like everything else in life, in movies, a simple story is overloaded with technology, in this case, special effects. The scary original about men trapped with an alien force in the Arctic never really showed the Thing until the very end. This version is so full of the Thing that it strangles our imagination and becomes a mere exercise in ugly, mechanical horrifics. Very dumb, very disappointing.
Wow.
And it's like the most...
Yeah.
It's special effects that have never been seen before.
Never been seen before.
Never been done.
And it's like, oh, too much of this thing that has literally never been done.
Some of the most amazing special effects in this movie. It's overloaded with them. Like there are a lot of times when we do this show where I'm like, you just completely don't get what you're watching.
Right.
And this kind of movie is exactly why I think that I wanted to do this podcast. Movies that like at that time, just like people didn't get what was going on in the movie. And the special effects in this movie, the special effects artist, 22 years old, literally got hospitalized for exhaustion working on this movie. He moved into the studio and lived there full time in order to put this stuff together. Nothing like this was ever done before. To say that you see the monster too early, do you think that's a holdover from like Jaws, that like they hide the ball on it, that like that worked effectively there, and therefore like that's how you have to do horror now?
Absolutely. That's what they, I mean, but it was also a template of older sci-fi movies from the 40s and 50s where it's like, we don't have the budget. We literally have to glue a horn on a iguana and then do forced perspective. You're going to get it for one shot, so let's make it count. And that's not what this movie is doing. Can't you just say, okay, so this is a remake of a movie, so 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 30 years later, we're doing something different. We're not making the exact same story with the exact same beats. Can't you just, like when you see the Thing 20 minutes in, you immediately go, got it. We're doing this. We're gonna do body mutilation, body horror. We're gonna have fun in this space. But he's like, I saw it already. Like,
right. It's like people with Dark Knight, like the few people that hated Dark Knight, and they're like, it's not as cartoonish as I need it to be for mine. It's like, well, this is a different thing, buddy. People do things different ways.
Yeah.
You know.
The other
it's
thing
fucking annoying
that really drives me crazy is this specific one. And Mick, I know you know what I'm talking about here. It's a little square. This review is a little square taking up a little tiny piece of the San Francisco Examiner. Boiling down, like the long reviews are awful and shitty and mean, and I hate them so much, and these people need to get the sticks out of their ass. But the little baby reviews where like, ho hum, not good. And you're like, they spent years.
It's almost more insulting when they're short like that. Yeah.
This group of people spent a long time creating something very, very intricate that took forever. And you're like, your job, that was their job, and your job is to talk about it. And literally he ends it with very dumb, very disappointing. You can't even give me full sentences.
Right.
Yeah. The horror, also, I feel like this is going to come up throughout our discussion of this, but the horror of the movie isn't necessarily the Thing itself. The Thing was an interesting one for me because as a movie monster, usually the reason that a monster is scary is because of their power, like
Mhm.
because of how overwhelmingly strong they are. The thing dies from fire. Like if you set it on
Right.
fire,
If you
it's
can get
dead.
it, if you can
If you
catch
can
it,
catch
yeah.
it, it's dead. Like it's not necessarily more powerful. What it is it's insidious. It hides in plain sight. It makes you distrust the people you need to trust in order to find it. The
Mhm.
horror is the other people. It's everyone around you. It's not being able to trust what you know about people, or not being able to trust what you see. That's why the blood test is such a gripping
Oh,
scene. It's one of the
great scene.
it's so great. But to be like, I saw a gory body 30 minutes into the movie, therefore I will no longer be scared, is like, that's not what the horror is really about.
Yeah.
It's about showing the stakes of the horror, but like
Mhm.
not really what you're the cause of the tension. The cause of the fear is the other people.
What I
Mhm.
love about the thing is there's a huge stretch after they establish the thing and you see some crazy shit where it's literally now let's just do the psychological horror. Now let's just do the paranoia.
Right.
And what I
Mhm.
love about how gross and in your face the visual effects are, you buy into the idea that when they're freaking out and trying to like pick each other apart and trying to figure out who's the thing, the mindset that I always get is like, let's figure this out so that shit doesn't happen again. Like we just
Mhm.
watched some crazy shit. Now let's figure it out, and if we're lucky, this will not happen again. Like that's how I always read it, where it's like you have to show that intense thing so that the stakes are raised, so that what they're fighting over, it's legit. Because if they don't, like
It'll destroy it, yeah.
it's
Right.
great. Like a thing's gonna eat your face and then like start throwing you around and make your legs hit the
Ah,
lights and like like it's gonna get bad if we
yeah.
don't
Oh,
figure
that
this
seems so
out.
great. That seems so
And
great.
another thing I love about this movie is that they kind of okay, they do two things that are completely abnormal to all filmmaking to this point. First of all, the black guy survives the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like he's in, so that, but this shit, and this shit's big. They open with not really killing any of the characters, but by killing like 7 dogs. Like
Yeah.
this is we are killing dogs immediately. We're not like how many movies is the dog dying scene maybe the saddest part of the movie?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
You don't even trust the dog because one of the dogs is the thing. So you're getting a dog who's an asshole and he murders beautiful German shepherds. Like
Yeah.
it's such a great like stamp on like, oh my god, we're gonna go so hard so
We're
quickly.
breaking every
And
rule.
I legitimately remember being like in school and like hearing all these kids talking about like Homeward Bound really made me cry, and me just being going like,
mhm.
yeah, I am the thing. And
Yeah.
everyone going like,
The
what?
thing too, right?
Like those are the two different types of people. If Homeward Bound was your first, example of like, oh no, or like Milo and
Dog.
Otis, like animals being injured. And me, I'm like, yeah, remember when he took a shotgun and just started taking out the other dogs that weren't even infected?
They weren't
because
infected
they
yet.
were gonna be.
Yeah. Oh my god. Right after they were sprayed with acid that
Oh,
like just melts their skin. It's like not only are the dogs dying, they're dying in like the most horrific ways.
yeah.
It's such a badass way
Yeah,
to
it's whiplash too, because yeah, you do naturally when you see that dog running, it's adorable, and it's just, and someone's trying to shoot it, you're immediately protective of this dog.
Mhm.
Then you start to realize this dog is not what he seems, unless you know Norwegian, and then you are already tipped off.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're like, they better kill this fucking dog. And then to go wholly the other way and be like, no, this dog kills 7 other dogs. It's
Yeah.
Right,
like,
right.
oh no.
Now you don't know
I
what to
didn't
think.
know this animal cruelty could get worse. Like,
Mhm.
Okay, so the LA Weekly. The Thing is more parts suck and slither in slime than anything seen on the screen since Alien. But that movie like the one this is a remake of, is dependent for its effect on collaboration between the imagination of both technicians and audience. It is what people thought they saw which frightened them. And that and the visual and psychological authenticity created to support their fear. The Thing is like The Howling, a showcase for fiber in latex and products they produce, by and for people who need their nightmares to be completely comprehensible and completely unreal.
Wait, so can I just, did this writer say that the horror stems from, I'm paraphrasing here because I just heard this, but did he just say that the horror comes from the technicians creating a monster and the audience agreeing that the monster should be scary? Like, isn't that the definition of like suspending your disbelief?
Yeah.
Like,
Some
isn't that
movies,
exactly what a movie is like we all agree to take part in this mind theater. Like
in a
this is
good
part
movie, that we know that they're making it, but we choose to follow it along. Yeah. Let me read that again. It is dependent for, like other movies, it is dependent for its effect on collaboration between the imagination of both technicians and the audience. It was what people thought they saw which frightened them, and that the visual and psychological authenticity created to support their fear. The
Right,
Thing,
because you didn't actually see a stomach eat a guy's hands. You thought you saw that.
Right.
Made incredible special.
The Thing is a showcase for fiber in latex and products they produce. Dude, I've never heard a worse summary of the effects in a movie. Like, I mean, that's insane.
I don't even think he nailed the materials.
No, he didn't.
Not even close.
But that's like watching Jurassic Park and the T-Rex CG and just being like, that's just a bunch of ones and zeros on a computer screen.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Like,
guess.
nerd alert. Can you?
I know that's made of plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Who
insane.
need their
Wait,
like,
was he saying it's a remake of Alien too? Wait,
well,
what
he
did he
was,
say?
he's saying that like
compared it to-
that Alien and what this movie is a remake of were dependent on a collaboration between the imagination. It's so clunkily like again,
Right.
there's so much of this. The audacity of these people when they're
Yeah.
doing their reviews to be like, I am so important. We're gonna
Right.
multiple subordinate clauses, and we are just gonna talk at length, and you're gonna need a thesaurus. And it's like, dude, it's The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Also,
I mean,
my thing with reviewers is like, by the way, why am I fucking listening to you? Like, what could you show? Let me show you. Let me see your movie.
Yeah.
Let me see your movie right fucking now.
Right.
Like
That's-
telling
that
people what they'll like is like
didn't
such
that
a-
happen in the 80s? Like everyone was like, Roger Ebert, you go make a fucking movie. And he did, and it was garbage,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I
that's
think so. Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
I didn't know. I
Yeah.
have to imagine a lot of them are film students that didn't pan out. Like I would have to imagine.
Oh,
that.
100%.
But that's like the beauty. I love, like, I was watching something the other day and it was just Tarantino giving his like top 20 movies, like his personal. Like, I would love to hear other filmmakers talk about films they liked or didn't like. I really like that. I think that's fun. Obviously, Carpenter kind of funny because like the thing he said about Spielberg is like almost like he's a film critic. He's
Yeah.
like, that sucked, fuck it. But it's like, oh well, you also can make perfect
Yeah,
movies. So
I guess you
it's-
could.
it's
Yeah,
like-
you have a right to say that.
Let's hop back in here. New York Times. John Carpenter's The Thing is a foolish, depressing, overproduced movie that mixes horror with science fiction to make something that is fun as neither one thing or the other. Feel free to or comment as
Is that the
we go.
title?
Sometimes it looks as if it aspired to be the quintessential moron movie of the 80s. A virtually storyless feature composed of lots of laboratory concocted special effects, with the actors used merely as props to be hacked, slashed, disemboweled, and decapitated, finally to be eaten and then regurgitated as, guess what, more laboratory concocted special effects. There may be a metaphor in all of this, but I doubt it.
No, there are definitely themes that you've missed, like
Yeah.
without question.
Yeah. The laboratory concocted special effects. Again, a knock on like, I mean, they spent you could tell they spent a lot of time on the special. Okay, yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
What's your point?
Harrison, this is a thing we see a lot when doing this, is these kind of like hedges that people make in these reviews where they're like, I hated this movie. I'm sure it'll make a lot of money, but I hate it. It's like, I'm sure everyone else will think it's a hit, but my opinion is it stinks.
If you're into practical effects, and it's like, it's 1982. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It keeps going. The New Thing has been written with no great style by Bill Lancaster and directed by Mr. Carpenter, without apparent energy or the ability to share his interest with us.
What does that even mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
That there's no energy to the movie.
What? There's all energy. It goes immediately starts.
It's so hard. It's
so terrifying and so disgusting. It's like such a visceral reaction based. There's not subtlety. I mean, there is subtlety, but it's not like you wouldn't watch that movie and be like, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
What were the,
I'm completely lost as to what's good.
There's no apparent energy. Dude, the movie starts with a helicopter, a gun, and a grenade.
Right.
Like,
there's a grenade. Yeah.
You know, like, come on, guys.
It's pretty high energy. And what does he mean by like he didn't read that the second half of that
there
sentence?
may be a metaphor in all of this, but I doubt it.
No, he said it's low energy, and that
The New Thing has been written with no great style by Bill Lancaster and directed by Mr. Carpenter, without apparent energy or the ability to share his interest with us.
What does that mean? What does it mean he didn't share his interest? What does that mean?
I love we picked a theme for a podcast where, you know, podcasts are supposed to be, you know, let's have like a nice, fun back and forth conversation. The number of times in this podcast where we're like, what?
We're just yelling at each other. Explain what this man wrote 25 years ago.
It really is crazy.
Yeah.
It also, a lot of the vibes of these reviews that I've heard you guys read, it kind of, it's like me posting something when I'm in a bad mood that I delete 8 hours later.
Yeah.
Like, why are you submitting this to an editor? Like, why can't you just?
Yeah, that's something that I notice so much is that, and you'll see in the next one, they come off as like personal. Like, did John Carpenter like cut you in line? Like, did he like have sex with your wife? What happened? Because that's something, because we talked about in the first episode about how like the paradigm has really shifted to like the YouTube review generation. Nobody does this in newspapers anymore. It's all like some 15-year-old in his basement who spends 30 hours editing a dissection of the latest Star Wars movie. And as childish as maybe some of them are, they never come off as like personal attacks. These come off like, you know,
they were insulted for having had to watch the movie.
Yeah, Mr. Carpenter better get his shit straight. And it's like, what do you? So it didn't vibe with you. Your problem is not with John Carpenter, you know?
Doesn't make any sense.
And then here's the last line. The Thing, which opens today, is too phony looking to be disgusting. It qualifies only as instant junk.
Oh.
Phony looking.
Phony. I watched it for the first time in 2020, which is almost 40 years after it was made. And I was like, this is disgusting. Like, this is also, I mean, if your whole vibe is like, if your whole career is based around watching films and dissecting how it was made and like your thoughts, like, why are you not, even if you don't like the effects, why aren't you giving us an apt description of what they were like and why you don't like them?
Great point.
Because they are so fascinating. Like, the whole movie, I'm like, how did they do this? How did they make I think it's a head? like crawl.
Oh, that yeah. Oh my
I'm like,
god.
this looks. If this came out next year, I would be like, this is mind expanding.
The one thing that stuck with me, that head. Sorry,
Yeah,
you
you're
need to
good.
make a point, but that head, when it opens its mouth and screams as it's moving, it blew me away.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
unbelievable.
When I'm crazy hungover, that's what I feel like when it opens its mouth and it goes like that's how I feel like.
Oh my god, it's so well. And also, there's just such like the scene where they're doing the blood test, and it's like the first guy whose blood freaks out.
Mhm.
And then he starts like shaking in the chair, and like that, oh god, like it's just, you're to say these special effects sucked even though they've never been documented before, like, and do not explain in any detail why you believe that to be true.
Yeah.
Like, it's such, because I know people that didn't like this movie, and then they describe it and I'm like, I don't agree, but now I understand why you felt that way.
Right.
And this guy is completely, he's not allowing us to any insight. He's not telling us, he's not sharing us his interests. I'll tell you that. I'll turn his words on him and say, I don't know your interests because
Yeah.
I don't know what you actually feel about this movie.
What would have been better? What would have been better?
He's not giving us anything to base his judgment off of, other than sucks, dude.
Yeah.
We are looking for, and at the end of the episode, we'll talk about like, has anybody turned you around? Like, be honest. Like, I know we love like shitting on these reviewers, but like, did anyone say anything that made you go like, you know what? I've honestly never thought of it that way. That is a good point. I disagree. And like, it's so few and far between that there are any moments where these reviewers are actually saying like, if the plot had done this, or if the effects had done this, wouldn't this have been, you know, like, I don't have to agree with you, but they're not even doing that. They're literally just going like, too much rubber. Like,
too much rubber.
Or like, I don't know the characters. It's like, that's exactly the point. Like,
yeah,
that's exactly the point.
Here
like,
is
that you're given only what you need to know. Yeah.
This is the last review. This is from Starlog magazine. And this review is only a piece of it that I was able to find, and it was so crazy that I actually bought the episode, the issue of Starlog magazine from
That's
eBay.
the level of production you can expect from this podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not here yet, but in a future episode, if there's more to the review, I will 100% read it with my, like, literally from the magazine. Because I just was like, what? So this is just a little excerpt of the magazine's review. Starlog magazine, I think this was from November 1982. I've seen John Carpenter's The Thing twice. Once with a paying audience, and the second time in a private screening at a producer's home. Both times, the reactions were the same. Then again, when anyone passes by a city dump, who on earth likes the smell? Again, so fucking personal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, dude. John Carpenter's The Thing smells, and smells pretty bad. It bears plenty.
This is so stupid.
Yeah. It bears plenty of Carpenter's trademarks as a director. It has no pace, sloppy continuity, zero humor, bland characters on top of being totally devoid of either warmth or humanity. It's a horror movie.
Right. It is humorless. I like
That's
that.
fair. Yeah.
Because if you're that many men, you're men trapped in Antarctica doing a job that sucks, and you're probably going crazy even before the thing comes. Like, you're not gonna be just like riffing bits. Like, it
has the little moments where like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And like little moments where like he destroys the chess game, and like there's little moments of
funny.
like, oh, this isn't dreary for just a quick second. Enough for me to go like, this is the tone of this movie. You know, you're right. But at some point, once a giant monster is gone, like, what are you expecting them to be like, cracking wise?
Right.
They're fucking terrified.
Nobody's trying to keep it light. That's I keep harkening back to it, but that the blood test scene for me is like, it's a seminal scene in movies. I think it's so tense. It's so perfect for what it needs to do. I think in lesser hands, every time the somebody passes the blood test, somebody would have a snarky fucking quip about like, well, I guess I'm clear. The only person who has a real line in that after they test the blood is when they test the guy who dies, or who McCready shoots, and Childs goes, I guess that makes you a murderer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just doubles down on tension rather than like levity, going for any levity whatsoever. And it's like, this is not meant to be fluff. There's also like when they test people and they clear the test, there's no scene of them getting untied or anything. It's a hard cut to them holding a flamethrower at the other people.
Yeah.
It's just a immediate, there's no opportunity for you to relax. Because we're already on to the next test. Like and that's the point of the movie, is to like not let up. It never lets up.
Zero humor is what is like. I love that, because we did the review we did an episode on Ghostbusters, and they said the end wasn't funny enough. So there's no winning. You could be doing Ghostbusters where the characters are literally riffing jokes to the giant supernatural being.
Go get him, Ray.
On the rooftop at the end of the movie, and it's like, it's not funny enough. So yeah, I wouldn't imagine that the Thing is necessarily also gonna like hit that benchmark.
Right.
The last line of the review, I also thought it was wrong for the ending to be so inconclusive instead of showing good winning out over evil. I don't think
they kill Tony Soprano. I don't get it.
The entire series was a waste. The last line. I don't think it was fair to do that to the audience. So no nuance, no understanding of open-ended, like of the value of like, well, that's what this movie is about, is that we don't know.
The lack of trust.
And now let's talk about it. Do they have the light behind the eyes? Can you see Child's breath? Did you hear the someone suggested that McCready gives him the drink of the J&B Scotch, but he actually put gasoline in it, and the fact that he drank it.
Theory. He made everything a Molotov cocktail before he went down there.
I mean, a million
if he hands
theories.
him a whiskey bottle and he drinks it, he wouldn't know that it's not whiskey, that it's gasoline.
That's an observation, or that's a theory?
So it's a theory that someone says, like, you think McCready put, but that's what's great about it, is that we get to have that conversation.
There's also somebody, I think this is apocryphal, I don't know, but somebody said that at some point, Carpenter says that in that last shot, you can see McCready is clearly panting from the exertion of the explosion and getting out of there, and Childs isn't breathing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but see, now here's when we talk about,
you can see that his breath is not like, there's no breath coming out in the cold, and he's not heaving or anything like that.
When you talk
I learned that after I had watched the movie. I got to go back and
I do think that Carpenter has also like gone out on the record and said like, none of those theories are like these are theories for you to talk about, but I am not saying one way or another. And I feel like that's like I think directors need to kind of just shut the fuck up. Like after Inception, like all of the people who made entire fan theory videos about whether or not the top falls over and whether or not he's still in the dream. And it's like, I think that Nolan's entire point is that that's not important. Having an answer to that question is not what he's asking you to figure out. He's saying that doesn't matter at this point, that he doesn't care if he's in the dream or not. And I feel like anytime a director comes out and like gives the definitive answer, nope, the wrestler dies at the end of The Wrestler or anything like that, you're just kind of like, oh,
it's a death of the author kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you
The Wrestler has such a good ending.
Yeah, because
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah,
for the thing. Hang on one second.
Except for who I couldn't. Who could walk away from Marissa
to your
Tomei?
point on this ambiguity of the ending in the video game, The Thing.
Here we
shit,
go.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, the 2002 video game. Actually, a really good game.
Yeah.
Um,
I knew this was coming.
Carpenter confirmed it's canon. The game is canon, and in the game, they say that they're both human. But at the later on, like years later, at some point, I think Carpenter tweeted out or said definitively, like, actually, one of them is a thing. I'll leave it to you. So he's kind of gone back and forth, and I think he's being again deliberately ambiguous.
See, I like that. Tell me both things.
Yeah. But apparently they shot like 10 different endings. And they wrote the one they kept like on the day or like while they were shooting. But there was one where they continue to like not trust each other, and they have the same kind of like standoff kind of style ending where a rescue helicopter comes, and rather than letting one or the other get on or both get on the rescue helicopter, they end up like both blowing each other up with dynamite.
I thought you were going to say blowing each other, and I was like, that would have been such a big turn.
All of these alpha bros watching this movie thinking it's like such a good horror movie, and then they're like, whoa, my sexuality is being questioned. Oh no. So for the end here, to wrap up, I have 3 1-star IMDb reviews. One of them I wrote, and 2 are real. Guess which one of these is fake, and which 2 of these are real. Ready?
Okay.
Is the first one. Kurt Russell, these are written so badly. Kurt Russell stars as the leader of an Arctic team, and things go awry pretty quick. I wasn't so much scared as exhausted of the thing as it jumped from person to person, which was cool, but without a story and characters to root for, I couldn't care less and was hoping by the end they all got eaten. I wish I could give it more stars, but I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. That's review number 1. Review number 2. I mostly liked it as much as I did, which was not much because the effects were groundbreaking and so weird. But when all is said and done, on the way out of the theater, I was like, that was it, the effects. The Thing, 1982, was one of those inferior products sold to us on the basis of special effects. I give it the lowest rating as I could completely do without this movie ever having existed. I love John Carpenter movies, and this was supposed to be the classic horror movie. But I've tried to watch it twice and hated it both times. The plot is brilliant, but I just can't get past the ridiculously bad special effects for the monster. I know it was long ago, and they did the best they could, but just no.
That's very funny.
So which of those 3?
I hate you for having been able to write one so close to the other 2.
It's not easy.
I think the second one is yours.
I mostly liked it as much as I did.
Yeah.
Mick, what about you?
I don't know. It's tough. I'm gonna go just to cover bases, and because I liked that it ended with just no. I'm gonna go with number 3.
No, I wrote the first one.
You wrote the first one?
Oh wow. That was like the more tame one.
That was I was gonna say that was plausible.
I know it was a long time ago and they did the best they could, but just no.
Just no. Oh man.
That's awesome. Well, that was The Thing. Do we have our minds changed?
Yeah, I don't like it anymore.
Really bloody.
It was just too much. It was too much latex.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's still it's one of those movies where like I saw it obviously way after it came out, but like I also saw it way after people had told me, oh, you got to see it. So I saw it in 2020. It was like a lockdown movie. There's a lot of movies I saw that were like classics that I watched in lockdown. I was like, I'm such an idiot for not watching these. And it was like immediately, I probably saw it like 3 years ago, and I watch it like at least twice a year. Like I watch it a lot. I love that movie. I think it's like a perfect horror movie.
Hell yeah.
I saw someone tweet something where it was like old horror movies would be like this guy is going to murder you. He keeps murdering everyone, or this monster is eating everyone. And now horror movies are like, well, the real villain was insecurity.
That's a great point. Like the whole idea now is like whatever the character's personal demons become their physical demons.
Right.
And I just miss, and I love a movie that's like, no. Big scary force of nature.
Right.
Fuck some shit up. And will they survive? I just prefer that, like
right.
Because we don't know anything about McCree. Like I remember reading that like apparently it didn't make it in the final script, but the whole idea was that he was a Vietnam pilot who had some PTSD, and that's why he doesn't react to the gore. Like I love that that's all suggested, and for you to kind of figure out if you want or assume if you want, but like it's not like, a creature from Vietnam, from the napalm explosions and mutations from the atomic age, chased McCready to this Arctic, like, no. So thank you so much for watching. Give us a like on Apple Podcasts, like, share, subscribe. Don't miss an episode. Let us know what movies we should do next. Go on any of my social medias. I'm at Dave Columbo on TikTok and DVD Columbo on Instagram, and post your own shitty review for the thing and tell us what movies we should do next. Harrison, you just had an album drop. Where can we find you? Where can we find it?
Oh, yes. It's on all platforms, but I would suggest for financial reasons that you buy it on Apple Music or Amazon Music. I put a lot of work into it, and it's something I really love how it came out.
It's phenomenal. It's really great.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
I
everybody's got to
appreciate
listen.
you listening. I have a special coming out. It will be like a short, but how specials in like 10 years are going to be 2 minutes long. It's going to be 15 to 18 minutes.
I've got a TikTok coming out. It's going to be pretty
good. Yeah. That will be out sometime in the late fall, early winter. We're still editing it, and that's with Rhythm Comedy, who also you should just check out. It's a good production company. And then go listen to old episodes of Let's Talk About Sets, because we were I was looking at our numbers because we've been off the air for 4 years. I was looking at like our stats, and I was like, oh my god, it's like more than doubled in listeners since being off the air. I'm so, if you want to go and check that out, people are asking when it's coming back. I'm not sure, but we want it to come back. So we don't have any official, but we appreciate you guys continuing to listen because we loved it. And Dave did a great episode.
It was a lot of fun,
I believe.
Yeah, right? and I gotta say, as
AC though, too much AC. I'm just
way too much AC.
That was before we recorded. I'm sorry.
Let's Talk About Sets is such a great podcast, and it's great for comedians. If you're ever having a obviously listen to it anytime, but if you're ever having you had a bad set, you're having writer's block, you're starting to doubt yourself as a comedian, just popping on an episode of Let's Talk About Sets, because they're all so granular with let's talk process. Let's listen to Mark Norman really break it down. Let's listen to Roy Wood Jr. really break it down. And it's like it more than any, because there's a lot of podcasts that try to like, hey, let's talk about the minutia. And they do not succeed anywhere near as well as your fabulous podcast.
Oh, that's so sweet. And
the amazing
I gotta
Jeff
say
McBride.
that's all Jeff. Jeff is like a chemist with stand-up comedy evaluation. It's really crazy. Even when he has a take that I don't agree with, once he breaks it down, sometimes I'm like, even if I don't agree, again, I'm just like, oh wow, you've gotten to every different level of your criticism. You really know what you're talking about. So also follow him, Jeff McBride. He's my co-host.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening and watching, and until next time, this has been Off the Mark.